episode of Subcast. It feels like every week there's some new shakeup in the world of social media. And we wanted to dive into what all this instability actually means, especially, if you're trying to connect with people and grow something online. We're going to be pulling from our own experience and, observations here at Subsign to break down some of the big shifts and share our perspective on how marketers can navigate this evolving landscape.
Absolutely. It's a really dynamic situation, isn't it? And staying ahead means, really understanding the forces at play. We're seeing major platforms facing some pretty significant challenges, and that naturally has a ripple effect on how we all approach marketing in the digital space. Our aim today is to offer a hopefully clear, practical look at what's happening and, importantly, how to adapt.
Okay, so one of the ways we've been thinking about this at Subsign is this idea of social media being a bit like a sandcastle at the mercy of the tide. Sounds kind of dramatic, maybe. But when you look at how quickly things can change, it sort of fits, right? These platforms that once seemed like permanent fixtures, they suddenly feel a lot less certain.
It's a useful analogy, yeah. That feeling of uncertainty isn't unfounded at all. We're seeing concrete examples of this with the major players. Take Meta in Europe, for instance. And then the global complexities surrounding TikTok. These aren't just like minor tweaks. They're potentially really significant shifts.
Right. Let's dig into Meta first then. They've made some headlines recently, deciding to end their U.S. fact-checking program and ease up on content moderation, specifically around what they call hateful conduct. That sounds like it could open the door to, a lot more negativity on their platforms like Facebook and Instagram.
It does raise concerns, definitely. By reducing that oversight on hateful conduct, Meta is essentially creating an environment where harmful content could potentially spread more easily. Now, while that's concerning from a social responsibility angle, it also presents an interesting, if maybe complex, challenge for brands. They might see greater organic reach in some ways, perhaps, but they also need to be incredibly vigilant about where their ads and content actually appear. And maybe invest more in tools and strategies just to ensure brand safety,
Right, a double-edged sword. Okay, and then you've got Zuckerberg talking about how European regulations are, quote, institutionalizing censorship and hindering innovation. It feels like a real standoff brewing there.
It really is a clash of perspectives. The European Commission, for their part, has been quite clear. They say their regulations focus just on removing illegal content, not stifling free expression. But Meta's response, including rolling out this community note system, which is pretty similar to what X does, it suggests they're looking for alternative ways to handle content moderation in this new regulatory environment.
Okay, the community notes system. So that's the idea, where users can flag posts they think are misleading. And if a diverse bunch of contributors agree, these notes become visible. How does that diverse bunch part actually work?
Yeah, think of it like a crowdsourced fact check, sort of. Users add context. And if a certain number of contributors who the platform's algorithm identifies as having different viewpoints on things, if they all agree on a note, it gets shown to other users. The idea, I suppose, is to get a more balanced, community-driven approach to flagging misinformation. But whether this can truly scale and effectively combat harmful content on platforms the size of Facebook and Instagram, that's still a really big question mark. What's fascinating here, though, is that these ongoing regulatory challenges, combined with existing concerns around privacy, data, how Meta targets ads, it could all lead to some pretty significant changes in how they actually operate in the EU.
It definitely feels like the ground is shifting under these big social media players. And it's not just Meta dealing with this kind of pressure, is it? TikTok seems to be in the news constantly, with potential bans and restrictions popping up all over the world.
Exactly. TikTok is facing legal challenges in, many countries, at least 20, I think. If we just look at a few key examples, it really highlights the global scale of what they're dealing with. The U.S. government, citing those national security concerns related to its Chinese ownership, they've been pushing for a ban, and the Supreme Court is expected to weigh in on this. In fact, TikTok has publicly stated they'll shut down in the U.S. starting January 19th if the Supreme Court doesn't actually block the law. That would be just a massive disruption for a platform with such a huge cultural impact.
January 19th. Wow, that's coming up really fast. Imagine the impact on creators and brands who've built their entire presence there. It's huge. And it's not just the U.S., right? We're seeing other countries taking action, too.
Yes, absolutely. Albania, for instance, announced a year-long ban on TikTok starting in 2025. They cited concerns about its influence on young people and the potential for inciting violence after a tragic event there. Then there's Romania. Their telecommunications regulator actually recommended suspending TikTok. That was amid allegations of election interference after their presidential elections were canceled. And let's not forget Russia. They restricted TikTok's operations way back in March of 2022. That followed them criminalizing what they considered misinformation about the Ukraine invasion.
So with all this uncertainty swirling around the major social media platforms, it makes sense that marketers might be looking for more stable ways to reach their audiences. Which brings us to the idea of a potential, maybe resurgence for classic advertising.
Yeah.
Those more tangible physical forms of getting your message out there.
Exactly. In a digital world where algorithms change constantly and entire platforms could theoretically disappear overnight, out-of-home advertising, ooh, ouch, like billboards you see on the highway or ads on buses and trains, it offers a tangible and, importantly, a non-skippable, non-blockable form of visibility. What's interesting here is how these more traditional methods can now be really powerful complements to digital strategies. They offer a consistent presence that can sometimes be harder to achieve online these days.
Yeah, it's almost like in a world of fleeting digital impressions, a billboard on a busy street provides a kind of, dependable anchor for your message. And it really underscores the importance of having a well-rounded approach, like not putting all your eggs in one potentially very shaky social media basket.
That's precisely the point. Building a stable and resilient marketing mix is just crucial right now. It's about strategically balancing your efforts across various digital platforms. Of course, you still need that. But also thoughtfully integrating other valuable channels. Think email marketing, focusing on your own website through SEO, and exploring those rediscovered opportunities in OH advertising. Diversification is really the name of the game when the social media landscape feels this unpredictable.
And this also leads to the idea, doesn't it, that maybe social media managers need to shift their focus a little bit. Instead of being hyper-specialized in just one specific app, it might be more valuable to understand the broader principles of why people engage online, regardless of the actual platform.
That's a really key insight, I think. Think about it this way. Today's must-have platform could genuinely be tomorrow's forgotten fad. Remember MySpace. Or Vine. If your expertise is solely tied to mastering the intricacies of a single platform, and that platform then faces regulatory hurdles, like TikTok might, or simply falls out of favor, your skills suddenly become much less transferable. What's fascinating is that while the specific features and formats of different social media platforms vary quite a bit, the underlying psychological and social drivers of user behavior, they tend to be much more consistent over time.
Okay. So by focusing on understanding what motivates people to engage with content, what captures their attention online, how they make decisions, marketers can essentially adapt their strategies to whatever new platform pops up next. It's more about understanding people, not just the platform's latest algorithm tweak.
Exactly. That understanding of core human behavior online, that's what provides true flexibility and adaptability. And that adaptability is really the central takeaway here when we look at the current social media landscape. It has to be.
It really is. These platforms are in constant flux, whether it's through algorithm updates that change what users see or new trends that emerge seemingly overnight, or even significant changes in laws and regulations, as we've discussed. So for anyone listening, anyone trying to market their business or build an audience, what's the most important thing to keep in mind right now?
Stay flexible. Be curious about how your audience's online habits are evolving constantly. Be willing to experiment with new formats and platforms as they emerge. Don't be afraid to try things. And maybe most importantly, diversify your marketing efforts across multiple channels. Don't rely on just one. Proactivity and a continuous learning mindset are your most valuable tools in this environment. Your best allies, really.
Absolutely. In this kind of dynamic environment, standing still is probably the biggest risk you can take. So if you're looking at all these changes and maybe wondering how they might impact your current marketing strategy,
well, we at Subsign are here to help you make sense of it all. Feel free to get in touch and leave us a message. We can definitely help you navigate these latest trends and adjust your approach to fit the evolving advertising landscape.
for all your marketing needs, contact Subsign today.